Good evening. We are back to study the Spirit's book. Let me share here. We are still on chapter 4, which is the process of reincarnation, or returning to the spiritual world after death. We stopped in question 196, so we're starting today on question 197, which is fate of children after death. So, Philip, can you read for us, please?
197. Are the spirit of children who die as infants as advanced as those of adults? Sometimes more, for they may have previously lived longer and acquired more experience, especially if they have made progress. Can the spirit of a child be more advanced than that of his or her father? This happens very frequently. Do you not often see it in your world?
Okay, so when we talk about the fate of young children that died, first, without spiritism, it's very hard to make any sense or find any logic in children dying at a young age. From the moment of birth to when they are still very young, that they still haven't done anything useful for themselves or for those around. They are still in the process of learning, right? Of course, this applies also to young people that discarnate. And spiritism brings us with the idea and the teaching and understanding of reincarnation brings a whole new light to the fate of children after death and why children would die at a young age. What's the reason behind it? And we're going to see in the next. There are not many questions here on this topic, but one thing that we have to remember and to keep in mind that a child may be young in age of their present incarnation, but as an eternal spirit, they are an old soul, let's say, most of the cases of us here on this planet. So they have lived longer and they have made progress. So they can be less advanced, as advanced, or more advanced than the adults surrounding them. Because what matters is the evolution of the immortal spirit, the level of evolution of the immortal spirit. So as the law is of progress, and we know that we are always evolving, also, it only makes sense, the answer from the spirits to the second question. If the spirit of a child can be more advanced than of his or her father or mother. I went to the original because I was curious why Kardec asked father, but the original is father also. So, but father or mother, we could say. And the spirits answer, this happens very frequently. Do you not often see it in your world? And indeed, we see children that are clearly more evolved than the parents in terms of, sometimes intellectual, sometimes moral qualities. Sometimes not. Again, we are all eternal spirits, and there are reasons for us to be incarnated where we incarnated and to be surrounded by the spirits we are surrounded with. Okay. Any questions here? Okay. Next one.
198. In the case of a child who has died very young without ever having the opportunity to do wrong, is his or her spirit a higher spirit? If the child has not had the opportunity to do wrong, it has not had the opportunity to do anything good either. and God does not exempt the child from the trials that he or she must undergo. If the child is pure, it is not because it is a child, but because it is more advanced.
Okay. Now, the question from Kardec is very interesting, right? So a child that died very young, without having the opportunity of doing anything wrong, is it a more evolved spirit? And the spirit's answer, not really. Because if he didn't have the opportunity to do anything wrong, he didn't have the opportunity to do anything good. So God's justice is perfect. So a child is not exempt for the trials that he or she must undergo. So the reasons why a child may die young, we're going to see in the next question. But of course, there are many explanations, and understanding previous incarnations and the needs of the child and the needs of the parents is how we are going to have to analyze and understand. And again, when we talk about discarnation of a child, it's always a difficult subject. The parents that lose a young child always struggle with it. And it is upon us as spiritists to console, to give strength, to give support, not to provide any suppositions of like saying, if it die young, it was for a reason. God is just, that's not the right approach. The right approach is of consolation, of support, of giving a shoulder for the parent who lost a child to cry. We cannot understand, and without having gone through, we cannot claim that we understand what a parent goes through when they lose a child. So what we can have is a better understanding of the process, a better understanding of the necessity sometimes of this to happen, and then we can be of assistance in terms of anything that we can help with. Okay, so it's important because I heard in the past someone that arrived at the Spiritist Center and had just lost a 4-year-old son or daughter, I don't remember. And the person in fraternal assistance told them, "Oh, you had to go through this. This happened because you had to go through." And that's hard to understand, how someone will go through that and say something like that. So we have to be very careful. We have to use our knowledge of spiritism to serve as a means to provide assistance in any way that the person needs the assistance. Okay. Questions, comments here? Oh.
199.
Go ahead.
199. Why is life often cut short in childhood? The short-lived life of a child may be a complement to a previous existence interrupted before its intended end. In addition, the child's death is often a trial or atonement for their parents. What happens to the spirit of a child who dies young? It restarts a new existence. If a human being has only one existence and his or her future is determined for all eternity after this one existence, how could half the human race that dies in infancy merit eternal happiness without putting forth any effort. What exempts them from the often painful conditions of progress inflicted on others? This would not be consistent with God's justice. Reincarnation acts as the most supreme justice, equally distributed to all. The possibilities of the future are open to all without any exception or preference being given to any. Those who are the last to arrive have only themselves to blame. Each person must merit happiness by his or her own actions and bear the consequences of their wrongdoing. Viewing childhood as a normal state of innocence is completely irrational. Do we not see children who display wicked instincts at an age when even education could not have yet any influence on them? Many seem to be crafty, dishonest, devious, and even display the instincts of theft and murder from birth, despite the good examples surrounding them. Criminal law absolves them from their wrongs, asserting that they have acted without judgment, which is correct because their actions are instinctive rather than the product of deliberate intent. However, from where do these different instincts of children of the same age, raised under the same conditions and subjected to the same influences, originate? If not from the inferiority of the spirit, where does this mature perversity come from, since education has played no role? Those who are vicious have a spirit that has made less progress, and each suffers the consequences, not of their actions as a child, but as the result of wrongful actions in prior lives. The law is the same for everyone, and no one can escape God's justice.
Okay, now we dive into the understanding of the reasons of why a child could die at a young age. And the explanation from the spirits here is that the short-lived life of a child may be a complement to a previous existence interrupted before its intended end. Meaning, example, again, it's example, it's not all the case. Each case is a case, okay? So someone dies committing suicide some years before they were supposed to have the natural life was supposed to end. So they may have the need to come to a new incarnation, short incarnation, to complement the one that they escaped from. A child can die young as a service of assistance to the parents, meaning the parents have to go through this traumatic experience because of reasons of their own previous incarnations. If they committed acts that the consequence of their actions were to face a challenge of losing a son or a daughter at a young age. The child may come for a short incarnation to expiate, to end the very challenging expiation, like Marcel from Heaven and Hell, that is an orphan that is completely deformed and lived for 8 or 9 years, if I'm not mistaken, and always with a positive attitude, always very happy. And he gives a communication to Kardec after his discarnation, and talks about the need to come for a quick incarnation to serve as an example and to finish his expiation of wrong pasts. So there are several reasons that a child would die young. But it's always important to understand that the law is, God's law is just. So it will be always something according to the law of cause and consequence. Then when we talk about the discarnation of a child, where does a child go? And that's a question that has been asked a couple of times. What happens when this child goes back to the spiritual world? And the answer is, if it's a young child that has no self-conscious of itself, self-awareness, it goes back, most of the cases, to the previous incarnation that it had. So 6 months old child, baby dies. 6 months old doesn't have any conscience of self-awareness, doesn't really have an understanding of who they are, the new in the new life. So they go back to the spiritual world. Most likely they will take again the previous very spiritual form that they had before that very short incarnation. When a child is a little bit older and has self-awareness, they go back to the spiritual world and they continue their growth as they were here incarnated, if they are average children, okay? So spirits, like the vast majority of us, average spirits, if it goes back to the spiritual world, let's say when they are 9 years old, a 9-year-old is already aware of who they are. So they will continue, they will be taken to a special colony like the one we saw in the book Between Heaven and Earth, that André Luiz describes, the visit that a mom makes to the son that she lost, and they continue grow there. Now, let's say a more evolved spirit that is in a stage superior to the average of us. This spirit can discarnate as a child, go back to the spiritual world, and skip the growing, between quotes, in the spiritual world, because it's a more evolved spirit, it's more aware of its needs and its capabilities. So it would take the form of an adult back in the spiritual world to continue their work. Again, each case is a case. Maybe a child can have a very difficult discarnation. Again, it's possible. If you read the book Between Heaven and Earth, the story of the young boy that dies and reincarnates again, they tell the story. His time in the spiritual world is a very difficult time. He's based in one of these colonies for children, but he has nightmares. He has a very difficult behavior, and and the few years that he spent there are troubled years. And then he's brought back to a new incarnation, a new reincarnation. So the law is of progress. If a child dies young, it's just part of the process of evolution, moral and intellectual evolution. They will eventually come to a new incarnation that can be sooner or later, depending on their needs. And the stage, the explanation by Kardec, when he talks about seeing childhood as a state of innocence, it's not rational. If we understand that we are all eternal spirits, and that a very old spirit can inhabit a very young body, then we can understand that children can be wise beyond their years, or can even be not very nice, have very bad instincts, because it's who they are. And that's where the parents have the opportunity to try to influence that child, because especially when they are up to their teenage years, is when they can be influenced by the parents. So the more difficult the children, the more strict the parents have to be in terms of their learning, the moral learning, to control their inferior instincts, to control their imperfections, to try to help them eliminate or reduce their inferior tendencies, their instincts that are not very good. Okay, so this concludes children here. So if you have any questions, any doubts, now it's the time. I don't believe we're going to go through this whole subject of children after death, incarnating and discarnating, and nobody is going to ask anything.
Me, John.
Okay, Marisa, thanks.
What about the children born with problem, like being special child?
Special needs children.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Again, it can be a challenge for. It's always a challenge for the children, but it's also a challenge for the parents. So the reasons could be for the child themselves or for the parents. In the case of Marcel, for instance, he was an orphan. He was left alone when he was very young. So it was his own need to go through that experience. Sometimes a child will come, a more evolved child will come with special needs to force the parents to focus their attention on the child instead of focusing on themselves and risking deviating themselves from the right path. So when you have to focus your attention on someone else, you have less time to focus on yourself. So that may be a need. It's out of love that they will come as in an incarnation as a special need children, because they didn't need that, but they want to help loved ones in the case of parents or siblings. So, each case is a case, but there is always a reason. It's never by chance that this happens. It happens because either the children or both the children and the parents have to go through the learning experience of living in difficult conditions to educate themselves, to learn how to love, to learn how to take care of others, to learn how to depend on others in the case of children that have special needs. So there are maybe there are spirits that were very selfish and very independent and not caring for others. They will come as a child of special needs because they will fully depend on others, and they'll have to learn to allow others to help them because it's their only option. So, I just gave you some examples, but there are many that we can discuss. But there is always a reason, normally between the children and the parents.
Okay. So in this case, more as a child, they don't know what's going on, but more for the parents, huh?
When they are children, yes, and if they die young, yes. But if they end up growing, eventually it's on themselves also, right? Because when there's children with special needs that end up growing and become an adult with special needs, they have to go through the experience also, right? So, it's each case is a case, but it's always a difficult challenge for the child and for the parents.
So I have in São Paulo, it's practically my niece, and she got married, had a boy, normal, and then the second pregnancy. Okay, she was very happy because it was a girl. The girl was born very well, but in the hospital, after some time, the doctor realized that had some problem. Anyway, it's a special needs girl. And she asked me, how, Tia Marisa, how come do I deserve this? And then me as I stood, and the little that I know, I told her, you have to be, you have to say thank you, Lord, for trusting me such a beautiful challenge, because it's not for everyone that deserve goes through about in this situation. So love her, you, your husband, and do your best, and whole family will be united. Yeah, but would you prefer that she could die? How come one person can live like this? How come for our family, everybody is suffering for that experience that you have to go through? Sorry, but everything is about love. Yeah, you never know what in your previous incarnation. You have to trust in God and prove your love, and be grateful that the spirit, that's your daughter, pick your family to go through this experience. Until now, she doesn't believe me too much, but that's what I could say. No.
Yeah, it's yeah, you couldn't. It's very difficult to answer the question that she asked you, because we cannot tell her, oh, you deserve that. That's not right. I think you answered very well. I think you said what could be said. It's hard, and it's difficult to give words of advice, especially for those that are going through this and do not understand the concept of reincarnation, or do not accept it, because then it becomes very difficult to understand. But what we can do is give our support, and gives a little bit of saying that what you said, trusting God. Nothing happens by chance. There is a reason. We don't understand, but it's love is behind everything, like you said. Very well said. And give strength and comfort. There's not much more that we can do in terms of we cannot impose spiritism rules for those that it's going to hurt more than to give any consolation. It's just I think you answered quite well. I don't see anything else you could have said. And she eventually, we hope that she'll learn to love the daughter, and we'll learn to connect with the daughter. And normally that's what happens as they spend more time together. They learn to love each other more, and eventually when she goes back to the spiritual world, both, and look back, they'll see how important the experience was for them if they make good use of it. That's what we can hope and pray for them.
Yeah, a lot of praying, because you as a father, me as a mother as well.
Yeah.
It's not easy be a father and mother. You can imagine to somebody, some child with problem. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this hurts so much. I don't know. So just God. We have to trust in God and Jesus, whatever. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Jean.
Thanks, Marisa. There's a question here on the chat from Eric. It seems to me that the reincarnation cycles are deterministic in terms of causes and consequences. If so, how does this process of determining the circumstances of reincarnation works? Who decides what? It's decided, if you have your knowledge and understanding of reincarnation, you can be part of your reincarnation plan. There is a team of spirits that work, and the book Missionaries of Light talk about the reincarnation department in Asular and how it works. And there is a very, very comprehensive description of the process of reincarnation in the book Missionaries of the Light. The reincarnation, you ask who decides what? Reincarnation is a natural law, so it happens. It happens independent of our will. We can resist incarnating for a certain time, but eventually it will be it will happen because it's the natural law. And when we are reincarnating, the team of spirits that are taking care of the process of reincarnation, the majority of our reincarnations are done, like in the natural process. There's not much to be built on. It's just cause and consequence. We are going to face challenges according to our needs. We are going to be placed in the best possible place that we can have in order to succeed. And it's, it goes through the natural process. There are special cases of reincarnation that are taken more special care, which is what is described in the book Missionaries of the Light. That spirits that merit being part of their reincarnation plan and choosing their choices. Again, all choices that are made, you have to understand that we have free will here. So the choices can be made for us, options for us to have in our lives, but there we have our free will. So if we are supposed to come here and our plan is to get married to A or B, and in the end we decided not to, according to our free will, it's our own choice. The readjustment with A or B will have to happen. If it doesn't happen in this life, it's postponed to another one. So the process of reincarnation, which is a very beautiful process that is described in that book that I mentioned, goes through the natural law. So there is a team of spirits that are responsible, our own personal connections, our loved ones, and our guardian angel is part of the process of each of our incarnations if we are not aware or not involved in it. And they always decide what's best for us, the best opportunity that we may have. Okay. Daniela, welcome back. You open your camera there. You have any question?
Thank you. No, I'm okay.
Okay.
Did I raise my hand?
No, you open your camera. That's why I thought you had a question. Okay.
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
João.
Yeah, Thelma.
I think it's a great question. The issue of determinism is a very complex one. I agree that there is a determinism on action and reaction, on cause and consequence. But in the process of reincarnation, there is not a hard, so to say, determinism, because, as you said, everything is taken into consideration, each case as a case. And in this process of reincarnation, the objective is to provide not only to that spirit, but some of the spirits that are around that spirit, like the parents, like the siblings, like the teachers. There's a lot of people involved in that. Is to provide to all of them the best opportunity of spiritual growth, the best opportunity of reparation of the previous mistakes. And that's where the complexity of reincarnation, I think it's almost impossible for us to try to figure out, because it's not only me who have to go through my things that I need to go through, but I'm also, in order to succeed, somewhat dependent on many others, my parents, my siblings. And so because of that complexity, there is not a real determinism in the reincarnation plan. We will have to readjust with the law. Most of us will not be able to readjust with the law in one shot. We'll readjust with the law in accordance to our ability to do so. They know how much you can carry, how much you can put in our shoulders, and they will limit to that, perhaps even less. out of the benevolence that they have to us. So yes, there is a determinism that in our process of maturation, of purification, we will have to deal with the consequence of our actions. But it's not determined on how, when, and for how long that process will take.
Yes. Thanks, Elmo. So Eric wrote also, so it's a natural process that in special cases, some sort of influence can occur to give chances to the spirit reincarnating to evolve. Well, reincarnation is always an opportunity to evolve. Special cases are those that are built specially for either a mission, either a special work that the spirit is going to face here on Earth. So these are the special cases. If you read that book, you are going to understand better the special cases that they mentioned there. It's not the Mother Teresa's of the world. No, it's just special cases in terms of spirits that will come with a mission or with an opportunity to help and be of help and assistance to others. So these are the special cases. But all reincarnations are giving opportunities to the spirits to evolve. That's because the law is of progress. So a reincarnation is an opportunity to progress. If we're going to use this opportunity to progress or not, it's on each one of us according to our free will and our choices.
I'll just put a quotation between natural process, because it's not so natural that happens regardless of anything. On the contrary, it's very much manipulated. It's manipulated by us, ourselves. We are able to participate. It's manipulated by our spiritual guides. It's manipulated by those in the Minister of Reincarnation who will build up that blueprint, so to say, that provides not only to us, but to everyone around us the greatest opportunity of spiritual growth. So, but I just want to make sure that by natural process, it happens just like the law of gravity. No, it's very much manipulated by the good spirits.
Yes. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so from one complex subject to another complex subject. Gender of spirits. That's not an easy one also. Let's go, Philip.
Do spirits have a gender? Not as you comprehend it, because gender depends on the physical makeup. Love and sympathy exist among them, but founded on a similarity of sentiments.
Okay. Gender, always a very complex subject to discuss. Spirits do not have gender. A perfect spirit does not have gender. Now, until we reach perfection, we go through different genders, different opportunities on both sides for us to learn and evolve according to the needs and the abilities of both sides. Also, we don't keep jumping from one side to another. Normally, according to the spirits, we spend a lot of incarnations on one gender, and then we change gender and do a lot of incarnations on the other gender. Okay? So a spirit does not have a gender as we comprehend it. The love among spirits is the fraternal love, of course. But a spirit at our level of evolution, so I'm and in this incarnation, I'm a male. When I go back to the spiritual world, I continue to be myself, continue to identify myself as me, because that's my last incarnation, João, and I'll have a male gender in the spiritual world until my next incarnation. That if I have the need to incarnate as a woman, then I'll incarnate as a woman and will have that gender, and when I go back to the spiritual world in the next incarnation, I will be a woman in the spiritual world, okay? I know this brings a lot of questions about, especially nowadays that we are going to so much discussions on fluidity of sex and people asking to be called neutral, but all of these are just the difference of how your body is and the difference of how you feel. That's not what we're discussing here. We're discussing incarnations as a male or a female, in terms of you are born a male or a female, and that's according to your needs. Again, I know that brings a lot of other questions that we can address, but there is no third option at the moment on an incarnation. You are either born a male or a female. I know there are some very rare cases that some people are born with both sexes, the hermaphrodites, but and then you have to have surgery. But this is very, very exceptional cases, and there is always a reason for those. But that's not what we're talking here. We're talking general cases, okay? So the basics of the gender is that we spend several incarnations in one gender, several incarnations in the other gender, and then we change genders according to our needs, okay? Any questions, comments here? Okay, next.
201. Can a spirit that has animated the body of a man animate the body of a woman in a new existence and vice versa? Yes, the same spirit can animate both male and female bodies.
Yeah, that's what we just discussed, right? We have incarnations on one body or the other body, male or female, okay? So there is not much more to add here.
202. Does a spirit, when in the spirit world, prefer to be incarnated as a man or as a woman? Spirits are indifferent in this regard, which is always decided according to the trials that they must undergo. Spirits incarnate themselves as men or women because they have no gender, and as it is necessary for them to develop in every direction. Both sexes, as well as every variety of social position, provide them with special trials and duties, and with the opportunity of acquiring experience. A spirit who always incarnated as a man would only possess the experiences and knowledge of men.
Okay, so it's a continuation of the discussion we were having there with Eric. In your reincarnation plan, can you choose to be a man or a woman? Can you make a choice? Yes, you can. If we think that we are going to need to develop on one specific gender, we can ask to change the gender in the incarnation according to our necessities. We can, if we are going to prefer to be incarnated as a man, as a woman, the prefer there cannot be viewed as a preference as we see here in the physical world, because our thought here, you are a man and you think I'd rather be a woman, or vice versa. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the need to go through the experience of being a man or a woman with the challenges and advantages that each gender gives the opportunities on a new incarnation. And then Kardec, on his explanation, he talks about a spirit who always incarnates a man would only possess the experience and knowledge of man. And of course, that's not sufficient. So we need to go through both experiences in order to achieve full understanding as an evolved spirit of the experiences on both sides and the challenges of both sides. So we know that there are some characteristics that are found more in men and some characteristics that are found more in women. Again, found more. I'm very clear here, it's not only found. So, you know, you have, if you go through an incarnation being a man, it's more likely that you go through experiences that you need to learn and to deal as a man, and vice versa. Of course, incarnations as a man or as a woman can create consequences that can affect future incarnations. If we abuse our power on one side or the other, being a man or a woman, we are going to face the consequences. But that's not, it doesn't have to do with the gender we are incarnated, but how we are using this gender to our personal advantages or to harm others. Okay. Okay. Any questions here? Dani.
Can you elaborate better the comment you made about the gender fluidity that we have been talking at the moment, like especially in younger generations? I don't know if I understood exactly.
Yeah, that's a very complex subject, right? Because it's all very new. In terms of our needs as spirits, we need to come on when we incarnate as a man or as a woman, or a boy or a girl. It's because we have to go through that experience. But sometimes, you know, you incarnate, I don't know, 20 incarnations as a man, and you know, it's time for you to incarnate as a woman because you are forcing too much on the manly side, let's say, and you need to learn to incarnate on the woman's side. And you come to a new incarnation against your desire to be a woman, right? So this is on your subconscious. And if you bring to the conscious and you act on it, that's where you can have this fluidity, meaning you can be a woman, but feel like you should be a man, be a woman and be attracted to other women, be a woman, but not feel at all like a woman, and then you desire to change the sex, right? And this can manifest from a very young age, right? These tendencies. But what is important here is to understand that these should be exceptions, right? Because the rule is that we, in the evolutionary process, when we change from one gender to the other, it's a natural process. We shouldn't have any disturbance with that. The disturbances happens because of our own abuses or our own rejection of what we have to face in this incarnation. Now, society has oppressed for centuries, for millennia, these people that don't feel like they are in the right body, right? So from the oppression, we always move from one extreme to other, right? So we may have gone, and again, I'm not trying to judge here, I'm just raising a hypothesis. We may have given too much liberty for children to make their own choices. I don't know if that's the case or not. I'm just raising a point here. But to oppress them, you know, a boy that wants to dress as a girl since a young age. If you try to oppress, you are going to create a traumatized adult, right? So that's clearly not the right approach, and this is proven. Now, to allow to fully express its femininity or femininity as a boy, is that the right approach? I don't know also, because there are reasons that we are we are born on one sex or the other, right? One gender or the other. So this is all very new. This is all very experimental in terms of what, how we are going to deal with it. I don't think that we have I know we don't have the answers, and but I think everything in the evolutionary process, there are abuses and there are extreme measures taken that with time we bring it to normality a little bit, right? It's like like many people talk about political correctness, right? That everything you have to be political correct here, and some people think it's an exaggeration. Maybe it is, maybe it is not, but if it is, eventually we will bring it back to a more rational approach. And it's the same with the children, in my opinion. But again, it's everything very new, and I think that we clearly don't have the answers. You know, with Spiritism helps us understand better why these children go through these experiences. It's because, you know, you can think of some. Let's give an example, right? A man that in the previous incarnations abused women in all sorts of manners, and it's forced, in a sense, to reincarnate as a woman because it's enough abusing women, right? Now you have to face the challenges of being incarnated as a woman. This man is going to have a very difficulty accepting being a woman, and will face consequence of his previous actions in previous incarnations as a woman. Again, cause and consequence. So this can create all sorts of disturbances for that new woman, let's say, right? Again, these are exceptions, okay? It's not the rule, because when a lot of spiritists, when they learn about this change of genders, they try to put in a box all cases of homosexuality as being the spirits that changed sex to gender from a previous incarnations. And that's not the answer. We cannot generalize. There are different answers, different needs, and maybe the spirit has chosen to come and make that choice because it's a way for them to learn different types of love, different types of relationships that they need. Again, we can never generalize, right? Okay.
So
right.
It's not necessarily what you said at the end now, it's not necessarily the change of gender from the previous incarnations to the next one. It could be several other things.
Yes, because the change of gender, it should be a natural thing, right? You know, it's time for you to incarnate as, let's say me. It's time for me to incarnate as a woman. If I don't have any traumas, if I don't have any problems, I will incarnate as a woman and live as a woman, having the experiences as a woman that are needed for my progress in my next incarnation, okay? It's incarnations, because there'll be a series of one. It shouldn't be, it shouldn't create any traumas, okay? In general, but, you know, each one of us have their own problems, their own issues that they have to solve, and that can create different problems, right?
I think it's. Can I hear me?
I think
Yes,
that
Paco.
yeah, this is a case by case, you know, because if you come as a man and if you come as a woman, it's because you have to undergo specific experiences as a man, as a woman. If you come as a homosexual, male homosexual with that identification, you must go through a set of experiences that are attuned to your specific experience. If you come here as a transsexual and you make the change, physical change, it's your decision. It's not to have to go through that experience yourself. So as I look at it, it's first of all, this, like we said here, it says here, the spirit does not have gender as you comprehend it. So whatever we do with our gender here, it's a matter of individualized experience.
Yes.
I
Exactly, Paco.
believe
You are
that.
absolutely right. Yes.
I could be doing wrong if I change my gender, while Miguel might not be doing anything wrong when he changes his gender. So it has to be taken in a much more fluid kind of because like you said, there are special missions. I do believe that we are all special to God.
Mm-hmm.
We're all special. Either you come with an atonement or a mission or whatever, even if we don't have that, we're still special. That's how I believe.
Yeah,
so
no, yeah,
it is our perspective is too rigid. Our perspective is too, is too, I guess it's too so scientific that sometimes we cannot look beyond. Remember, in 1973, homosexuality was a personality disorder.
Yeah.
So my point is that everything is so fluid, so it has to be taken a case by case. And as we grow as a dimension, we even learn much more. Thank you.
And when we look at this eternal spirit with no gender,
exactly.
It's according to their own needs, and any act that any choice that you make in this life will have consequences for you personally, positive or negative, depending on your choices and how you act on your choices. That's the thing, right? Because you being what you are, it's not a problem, and you acting on it, but how you behave and how you act positively or negatively is going to impact yourself in your own future, right?
Let us remember that a behavior by itself may have different ramifications and different meanings for different personalities. Okay? Just because you see a behavior, you cannot attribute this cause to this behavior. Concrete example, let me put this and this is a general example. If you come across someone who's really well-dressed, very, like really nice, neat, excellent in his dressing, in his hygiene, okay, you could say, wow, that person really taking good care of himself. He knows what, Or you could also say that he hates so much himself that he's got to come with those behaviors in order to make up and compensate. My point is that the same behavior may be attributed to probably polarities. So that's exactly what we have to be very careful in terms of establishing. Wow, this is what it is.
Yeah. Elmo.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paco. Elmo?
Yeah, I think the issue of gender is very hard for us to deal with. One, because of the taboo. Two, because of our prejudices.
Mm-hmm.
Three, because of a almost natural fear of offending someone when you try not to do so. It becomes, especially these days, with so many denominations beyond male and female, that it's very hard for us to be open and talk about those things. But in general, for us, the spirit, the very first answer of the spirit says the spirit has no gender.
Exactly.
We have no gender, but we do have self-identity. If I end up in the spiritual world today, I will likely be able to remember very well this reincarnation and the most. So my self-identity is of a male, is a male identity. I don't want to say a male spirit because I already said the spirit has no gender.
No, has no
right?
gender.
So I will identify myself as male, right? If I do understand very well that although I do identify myself as male, but in reality, as a spirit, I have no gender, it'll be very much easier and very likely that I will take a reincarnation, the next reincarnation, as a woman much easier because of this understanding. But if I fixate myself on a self-identity more than what I truly am, a gender spirit, if I fixate myself as a male or female spirit, it perhaps will bring more difficulty to adapt to another body in the following reincarnation. So they understand that we, in nature as an eternal spirit, we are agender. We do not have a gender. It's fundamental for us to eliminate some of those problems that we face right now. And to be able to allow what we are primarily overtake the secondary, which will be a self-identity that everyone will have. It is impossible to accept the idea that I have a, in my sleep over here, blow up an aneurysm and that's it, discarnate. And dive in the spiritual plane and say, oh, now I have no more gender. It's very unlikely. I will identify myself as male. But we understand that this is a secondary trait, that in reality I am a gender. It makes much easier to come in the following incarnation with whatever body gives me the great opportunity of progress.
Of progress, exactly. I like that.
Yeah, it's a difficult subject, especially more we discuss this, the more things change and we evolve, we are going to have different views, different understandings, but it's an important subject to always continue discussing because we are all, as spiritists, we are all equal before God and we are all brothers and sisters. So, eventually you are going to create another denomination for we are all brothers and sisters, possible, but in terms of our needs for evolution, we come equipped to the best, in the best possible place and form for our evolutionary process. Our acceptance or rejection of these opportunities, what is going to make us create more problems for ourselves or solve more problems for ourselves in this incarnation. Okay, we went a little bit over, so let's stop here. Couple of announcements. This coming Sunday, we have a special lecture. Our friend Luis Vilaça, that unfortunately is not here with us today, is going to be talking to us about consequences of the Spiritist knowledge. You all know him. He's been part of our studies since we went virtual. So we are going to do our regular Zoom class, but he's going to be giving a lecture to us and we'll have Q&A after, of course. So like our regular Sunday studies, same time, but it will be a lecture, okay? So this is on Sunday at 11 a.m. Consequences of the Spiritist knowledge by Luis Vilaça. On Saturday, we have a talk by Rudy de Souza from the Spiritist Center of Orlando, Past, Peace, and Knowledge. The subject is Grieving with All My Heart. This is Saturday, 11 a.m. Book club will be back on September 1st. Daniela is back. we are going to finish and life goes on, right? But still we have a couple of weeks to go until September 1st. And
That's on Wednesdays,
what-
am I correct?
yeah, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Yes.
At 7 p.m.
But,
Okay.
yeah, we restart on September 1st. Okay. Just a change that we made on our Mondays for those that are planning to go in person to our Monday meetings. Vaccination proof is mandatory starting this coming Monday. Okay, we're following guidelines from the New York City from New York City. Okay. Carol, can you do our final prayer?
Sure. Infinite Creator and Supreme Intelligence, we are grateful to be together this evening for our study of the Spirit's book, the chapter involving the fate of children after death and gender of spirits. We are grateful that we can share these teachings together and that we can share in the dialogue as well. We know that what we have learned, that through the law of progress, a child could be more advanced than the parents when they incarnate. It may be the opposite, however. Each case is a case. A child may die young, and it could be for a trial or atonement. And probably it could be maybe on the parent's side primarily, but again, it is within the divine perfect order for this to occur. A short incarnation may be an expiation for a child as well, and this again is according to cause and consequence. We should always give our support and comfort, and especially our love, to parents who have experienced the passing and the death of their children or their child. It's very important not to judge and to perhaps even lessen our abilities at that point to give advice. We should be respectful, but do our best, do our part, and especially to show comfort and love. We know that the gender of the spirits would be neither male or female. And so we know that these subjects are coming up in our current discussions, and many things that we are learning, especially what we view in our outer world. So it's a great study to be able to listen, learn, and discern. We give thanks to our spiritual benefactors, the good spirits, the mentors, the helpers, the healers who are with us. They are guiding us each day, each and every way, uniquely. We give thanks for this opportunity for their presence to be with us in this particular evening of study. May we continue throughout the week with our prayers, with our mindfulness, and with our studies. We are grateful and we humbly ask for the love, light, and peace of Christ to be with us. And may we share as we are able to do so with others who are near and dear to us. There is always an opportunity to be of service and to be giving of charity, time, talent, and treasure. We ask now to humbly go forth in peace and in safety and protection. And as we remind ourselves to be beacons of light, go forth now in peace, go forth now in gratitude as well. So be it.